Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of
Super Stache Bros.
So this will be the third episode in our weekly movie review. If you haven't already, you can go back and watch the previous two episodes. Each week we're going to review 5 movies, and we're going to list the movies that we're going to watch for the next week so that you can watch them with us and maybe like chime in on the comments and everything like that to tell us if we're just completely crap or if we kind of got it right. So I'm going to let my associate here start off with the first movie on the list this week, which will be...
a little movie called VFW.
Oh, one moment. I almost forgot. One of the movies that we actually had listed this week, which was in the documentary In Search of Darkness, unfortunately, we could not find a copy of it. So I thought it was out. I think it actually is out, but we looked on all the streaming services. We actually looked to see if there was anywhere we could buy it, and we just couldn't find a copy of it. So we replaced it with another movie, which we'll get to on down the line. But if you are here for In Search of Darkness, you're a very lucky person because you must have found a copy of it. And now, back to my associate.
You can buy it on Vimeo technically, but it is $2,000. So
That's true. That was a little steep for one episode, so we passed this time.
But going back, VFW, it's an indie film, kind of along the lines of movies we talked about before, like Come to Daddy or...
Actually, I'm going to jump in real quick and say, if you watch the last video, we talked about a movie called Bliss. This is from the same person.
Yeah, so he did the same thing, and a lot of the same actors that were in Bliss are in VFW. Definitely the same aesthetic. It's got all those flashing lights, pretty colors. It's kind of like an acid trip almost. But this one was really unique. It had a lot of well-known veteran actors like Stephen Lang. Most younger people probably know him from Avatar. I think William Sanderson, Shawshank Redemption. A bunch of, veteran, beloved action hero stars, and they star as these retired war veterans that open up this bar. And it's just where all the war vets can hang out and just be with people that understand them. And I got to backpedal a little. It kind of takes place in a neo-dystopian world. So it's like violence is rampant. There's like this new drug out that causes people to go crazy, and it's the most addictive thing on earth. So people do crazy crap to get it. And so right next door to this is this abandoned building where this drug kingpin has all this. I forgot what the drug's called. But he has a bunch of it, and so he's got this horde of, crackheads, essentially. And so somebody turns on him, steals the drugs, and heads over on to the bar, the VFW, that's the actual name of the bar too. And he sends out his...
Which is Veterans for Foreign War.
That's right, yep. Veterans for Foreign War. He sends out all his cronies, promising them all the drugs they can get if they can get it back. So it was a very bloody, very same line of Bliss. It was just balls to the wall crazy from start to finish. The effects were really good. The acting was good. It had beautiful cinematography in it. But yeah, it's not necessarily a horror film if you don't like horror films. It's more of like a assault on Precinct 13 type of film if you like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a very violent film, as was Bliss, the film that we covered last week. Lots of graphic violence, lots of death. It was a well-acted film, probably lower budget, but they done a whole lot with the lower budget that they had. Very interesting. It actually showed at a local theater, and I missed it, so I was glad to be able to catch up and see it this time. had George Wendt, I believe was his name, from Cheers, was one of the actors in it. As you're watching it, there'll be like a lot of the actors you're like, oh, I remember him from something else. But a very good movie. Like if you like kind of violent post-apocalyptic type videos, it's definitely got that. It has this director's trademark of cinematography that's very vibrant with strange colors and everything like that, which really does add to a film like this. It could have been just dark, and it made it seem like a higher budget film than it was, I believe. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah, and it's kind of like in the vein of a zombie movie, but not really a zombie movie, because it's not zombies, it's crackheads they're fighting off. So that was a unique little twist in how they did that. But no, it was a good movie. Highly recommend it. Action all the way from start to finish. If you want to watch this one is available to rent on Prime or YouTube for I think $3.99. So not bad. It is worth it. It's a good movie. It's a good Friday, Saturday night gore fest for all you gore hounds out there. So moving on to the second one, and this one's probably my favorite just because I'm a sucker for slasher films. Terrifier.
This is the video actually on the list that we added to be in place of In Search of Darkness. So it wasn't on the list. Sorry about that. But it's been out for a while, so we figured we could just lump it in, and if you haven't seen it, maybe we can push you into seeing it.
Yeah, so it came out in 2016, so I mean it's been a while, but it was very low budget. If you've heard of the website Dead Central, it's a film from them. They produced it. This one was if you're a fan of low budget, just slasher horror films like old 80s, like The Burning, My Bloody Valentine, Friday the 13th. You'll love this one. It's just straightforward. This really creepy clown called Art stalks this group of girls on Halloween, and it's just violent from start to finish. There's actually some legitimately creepy parts in it though too. But the gore effects are actually really well done for such a low budget, and you can kind of tell they didn't have a lot to work with, but they made the most of what they did have. And it really shows, like especially all the effects are practical. So if you're purist and you like CGI, this one is gallons upon gallons of fake blood just everywhere. But yeah, this one's really enjoyable.
My favorite thing, I've watched Terrifier probably 3 times, and we watched it again. And we watched it with some friends this time. And my favorite part of Terrifier is watching it with someone who has not seen Terrifier yet and watching their reactions to some of the things that happens in this movie. It is extremely violent. It doesn't hold back. It shows you everything. And one of the things that I actually really like about this film is that although it is low budget and everything like that, a lot of low-budget films use darkness to kind of hide the flaws of the film. This film does amazing practical effects, and it's very brightly lit. I noticed that, especially watching it this last time. You're never having to look for characters or see what's going on in it. They're dark, like the sets are kind of like dark themselves, but all the action always takes place in a well-lit area. And they don't have to hide things using darkness and everything like that. But if you want to see a movie that will probably scar some of your less horror savvy friends, Terrifier is a really good movie to watch with those people.
Like I said, it's just a good old fashioned throwback, straightforward slasher film, and I love those, and it did it really well. So definitely a new iconic villain to root for. And if you want to watch this one, it is streaming on Netflix and on Prime. So if you have one of those accounts, you should definitely give it a watch if you love bloody old slasher films. So I guess moving on to the third one, The Golden Glove. This one is a German.
Yes,
yeah, German. It's a German film. So it's probably a lot more obscure than a lot on this list, but it did just come out like last year. This one, it was really good, and the effects they did in it, just the prosthetic, because the main guy, the killer, so it's basically about this deformed dude who picks up and kills prostitutes at this local bar called the Golden Glove. It's very hyper realistic.
It is a true story, by the way.
Yeah, it's based off a true story, an actual German serial killer that operated in the 70s. So it's very accurate, it's violent, but it's not over the top violent. It's realistic violence. Like the scenes of violence it's drawn out. It's not quick. The camera doesn't move away, and we follow it through all of it. And you actually kind of like, this is a little too realistic. But no, like I was saying with the main dude, so the actual killer in real life, he was kind of deformed in the face. One eye was like down here, one right here, and stuff like that. And so they actually added the prosthetics to the actor. And so when we were watching, it's like, oh my God.
The first time he comes on camera, it actually unsettled me. I just looked at it, and for some reason, just his appearance actually was unsettling. It's that good.
But, which is surprising because I looked it up afterwards, and the actor that plays him is a beautiful man, like flawless man. So they did really good on the prosthetics with him. If you're a fan, I think the movie this reminds me most of is something like Gus Van Sant would do, like Elephant, The House that Jack Built. It's that very realistic take on a serial killer, which is actually, over the credits, they actually have actual crime scene photos from the scene back then, and so it was really cool to see, creepy to see how accurate the film actually made it. And it was actually very good. It was very well acted, shot, unsettling, which I think that's what they were going for. So I definitely recommend this one if you're a fan of the more true crime dramatizations of things, like based off actual true events that have happened. This will definitely be up your alley.
Yeah, this was actually like one of the videos I picked to watch this weekend and everything, and I just seen some buzz about it, and I am a sucker for true crime serial killer type videos and stuff like that. And this movie, once it got started, I was pretty much suckered into it. I don't ever remember being bored or anything like that. It was just it's not very, it's a slow-paced movie, so going into it, you gotta know that. It's a slow-paced movie, and it's very hyper-realistic. It has some crazy sex scenes in it, so be aware of that if that bothers you. It's got some like I said, some realistic sex scenes, realistic violence in it and everything, which kind of gives it a grungy, kind of like leave you with a bad feeling. But it's so interesting that, like I said, at the end of it, watch the credits, and they had these pictures from the actual killer and of his apartment and some of the crazy stuff he would do in his apartment, which you'll see in the video. And I immediately went and actually looked up the real killer and read the story. It was one of those that it inspired me to want to know the full story on it and everything. And from everything that I read, this movie captured it very well. So I highly recommend this movie.
I do too. Like I said, if you're a fan of true crime, stuff like that, you'll definitely love it. Very morbid, very accurate depiction on film. If you want to watch this one, it is available to stream on Shudder. And that's one that's going to come up a lot in these videos because that is like the number one streaming service solely for like horror films, if you're a big horror junkie. So if you have Shudder, definitely give it a watch. But yeah, it was definitely and it is dubbed, or not dubbed, I'm sorry. It does have subtitles, so you will have to read a little. But this is more of a movie that's more visual than it is about verbal.
It's
cues.
not very dialogue
So, yeah.
driven. It's a very visual movie. And I applaud Shudder for having a film like this on there, which is, it's a German film. I was surprised to find it on there, so that's an awesome way to go, Shudder.
I love Shudder. So the next one, this one's more lighter in tone. It's called Wrinkles The Clown. Wrinkles is it's a documentary. Basically, Wrinkles is a clown in Florida. Very creepy. You can Google him. He posts his number all over the city. I think it's in Miami. All over Miami, and parents call him and have him leave their kids terrifying voice messages.
Or come and visit and scare the crap out of them.
Or come and visit them. And so this documentary is kind of based around...
As that, and to go on top of that, it's as a form of discipline for, he's not just calling them to have fun. This is a new way for parents to discipline their children.
Yeah, so it's a scary clown. It's a malevolent clown. But this documentary, kind of takes a look at Wrinkles. They track down the guy that is Wrinkles, and so we kind of get a bit of backstory about that. But although it deals with Wrinkles, it deals more with how things can spread and become legend on the internet, and it's really about the power of the internet and how you can create this whole mythology just sitting behind your computer. It was creepy, but it was lighthearted for the most part. They did a really good job explaining how Wrinkles came to be and his purpose and all this stuff. But yeah, it was a fun little documentary. So if you like horror-related documentaries, I'd definitely give it a watch. Yeah.
I think what I found the most interesting about this documentary of Wrinkles the Clown is that, he is taken on, this is just a guy that's posted something on YouTube and spread some stuff, and there's a video that went viral on YouTube, and he's basically become like a boogeyman on the internet. And they had children. He gets thousands of calls every day and everything like that. And children watch him and try to mimic Wrinkles the Clown, or they're terrified of Wrinkles the Clown. He's became kind of like a Candyman or
Slender Man
type.
If you remember Slender Man, it was a creepypasta that kind of just blew up into, this larger-than-life character. They made movies, games, all this stuff about him. And so it was kind of like, and they explore that in the documentary. Like I said, it's about Wrinkles, but it's also about how things can become the stuff of legend and integrate itself into the American zeitgeist. Just sitting behind the computer screen. It's your legacy.
Yeah, it's different. It's like a different take, and at first I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this or not, but just the unfolding of how this perfect storm of one media coverage type from a local news source that goes viral, and the next thing you know, you have a new boogeyman that children are terrified of just the mention of Wrinkles the Clown. So I highly recommend watching this one also. It takes a little bit to get into, but it has a payoff to it.
It was worth it. And if you like this one, you can stream it on not Amazon Prime, Hulu. It's on Hulu. So if you have Hulu, you can check it out there. But yeah, it was a good little documentary. Watch on a Friday night. So the last movie, The Other Lamb, that's a new one that just came out this year. So this one's basically this young girl. She's in this cult of all women except for one man. And so this man calls himself the shepherd, and all the women, they're his wives and his daughters. and they're separated by color, and he calls them his lambs. This one is, if you're a fan of cult movies and stuff, like Wicker Man, Midsommar, or just real life cult stuff, like Heaven's Gate, Jonestown, stuff like that, this is definitely a movie to check out. This one offers a unique and very realistic portrayal of how cults kind of operate. So the basic plot is, this shepherd is leading his flock, as he calls them, to the promised land, where they're going to spend eternity in pure bliss. And it's about the main girl, one of his daughters. She's starting to come of age, and she's starting to kind of question the teachings he's telling her. Like, he keeps telling her all this stuff throughout the film, and she's watching as all the others accept it blindly and are so devoted to him. And then it's her awakening into womanhood, I think, is what the director was going for. That's at least my take off it. At the same time, awakening to the lies that the shepherd may be telling them. So yeah, this one, it was a slow burn. So if you like slow burn horror movies, it's definitely for you. It's not anything too out there either. I know with a lot of cult movies and stuff, they kind of tend to be over the top, crazy, violence, all that stuff. This film is not particularly violent, and it is more realistic and gritty in its approach to the subject matter of cult. So I think that's what was the best thing about it. It wasn't scary, it was unsettling. Because, this is really how cults operate, today. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. If you're a fan of realistic, disturbing, unsettling type films, I'd definitely recommend this one.
Yeah, I really enjoyed like the sets and everything. It was outdoors, fog, and it kind of gave it a realistic flair, because these are people that's living on the fringes of society, these cults and everything like that. And of course, he wants to keep his flock separated from the world, because that's kind of one of the ways you have control over these people. And it's a very slow burning movie. So just take that in mind going into it. There's not a lot of in your face stuff that happens. You're gonna watch this for the complete package. When it's done, everything's wrapped up with a bow, and it is nice. Funny enough, I had one issue with this movie, and it's all 100% me, as that the main actress in this movie looked like Daniel Radcliffe so much to me that it looked like Harry Potter in a woman's clothing to me the whole time, and I could not let this go the entire movie. And in parts of the movie, she actually sees herself like with makeup and everything, and she doesn't look like Daniel Radcliffe at all. But in her normal attire in this movie, I just could not see that every scene of this movie, and it was super distracting to me. And that, I know that's a me thing. It's not going to be everybody. Probably when you watch it, you're like, no, this does not look like Harry Potter. But to me, it really did, and it was very distracting for this whole movie. But I enjoyed it. I am a cult fan and everything like that. Movies like Sound of My Voice and stuff, they're kind of slow burns as well. Usually cult movies are either just balls to the walls crazy or a very slow burn movie. This one was one of those slow burn movies. But like I said, wrapped up nicely. You're not disappointed. It was a very good movie, I think.
So, slow burn cult movie. If you like the more realistic approach to that type of subject matter, definitely check it out.
And in the comments, tell me if you think that looks like Harry Potter in a dress. Back me up.
So, yeah, I think that's it. If you want to watch this one, it is available to rent on Prime or on YouTube for $3.99. I'd definitely give it a watch. It's worth it. Very good, well shot, beautiful movie. If I had to describe it anyway, I'd say it's probably like Black Swan meets Midsummer. But yeah, I enjoyed all the movies we watched this week. So again, that's a rarity. You know, you take a gamble every time you put a movie you've not heard anything really about on. So I'd highly recommend all 5 of them.
Yeah, so why don't you give us your feedback if you watched any of the movies and let us know about them. And if you know where we can find a copy of In Search of Darkness, post that in the comments too, because we're looking for it. But that wraps up this week's movie review. But be sure to check in the comments of this video, and we're going to have 5 new videos that we're planning to watch this coming week. And that way you can kind of watch them with us and chime in on things.
So, until next week, we'll meet you back. Happy watching films. Definitely leave in the comments what you think if you do watch any of these 5 films. And we'll see if we agree or disagree or not. So, until next time.
See ya.
Bye-bye.